So the Lakers on Saturday night dispatched of the Portland Trailblazers. In the I don't hate to say I told you so, I did in fact tell you so. The NBA's playoffs don't always come down to who wants it more, right? Like, oh God. If I hear it, if you're a paid broadcaster, it goes like, it just comes down to who wants it more. Or it's a make or miss league. It's a make or miss league. That's profound. Profound. Colin, help me out, Goulet. Did he pick I thought he picked the Blazers. There's like video of him picking the Blazers to win the series. But I believe there was also a segment in which he picked the Lakers to beat the Blazers.
He picked the Blazers, and then after watching the Blazers against the Grizzlies in that play-in game, said the Blazers are too tired, I'm taking the Lakers.
Now, it must have been a text from me that I sent him. Look, what happens in the NBA playoffs are basically decided by these factors, right? Injuries, and how many different playoff series have been decided because a guy gets hurt in the middle of them or before them. Injuries, matchups, and on some level, conditioning. Jokic at sea level obviously doesn't seem to be laboring as much as he does when he's above sea level, but there have been times in the past when Jokic in the playoffs looks like he's just dead on his feet. And the Portland Trailblazers, a team that had to win, I think, 6 of their 8 games in order to get in the play-in game. They won the play-in game. I told you the 2 reasons that I thought they would lose in 4 or 5 to the Lakers was very simple. 1, they're out of gas. And 2, they're not built to match up with LeBron. They're not built to match up with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis had 43 on 18 shots. By the way, those are crazy numbers. 43 on 18 shots. And LeBron, ho-hum, had 36 on 19 shots, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. And they get just enough scoring from the rest of the team to score 131 points. The reason they beat Portland is they were out of gas, and it's a bad matchup for Portland. Just a bad matchup. Portland didn't have anybody who could match up with Anthony Davis, and nobody who could match up with LeBron. And guess what? The Houston Rockets, who are up 3-2, who suddenly now have Russell Westbrook back. Same thing. Same thing. No, the Houston Rockets to this point, now if they get Russell Westbrook back, they're not injured. And maybe they're in good shape. Although the Lakers, they got an extra couple days off because of the protests. And now they're going to have an extra couple days off because Houston has one more game. So in terms of conditioning, that's a win for them. Matchups, that's a win for them. Injuries, relatively even, especially now with Rondo essentially coming back. Doesn't matter how much he'll play or whatever. It's just adding another body that they can throw out there. Like, I don't hate to say I told you so. I love to say I told you so. There are a lot of people, and I've made mistakes in evaluating games and series in the past, but this one was pretty obvious because they had played many times in the regular season. The Lakers averaged 127 a game. And so, yeah, you give Portland a shooter's chance. Hey, if they have a game where they make everything, the Lakers miss everything, they can win. That's what happened in game 1. Portland didn't play particularly well, hung around, hit a couple shots late. Lakers couldn't make shots. They steal game 1. But the rest of the series, that's why you have a 7-game series. So the better team ends up moving on. In this case, the better team is clearly the Lakers. Not just because they're a 1 seed, but because the matchup really favored them. The matchup, the conditioning, the injuries are now a wash as you get ready for the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are not built to guard somebody like Anthony Davis and not really built to guard somebody like LeBron James. The only place that changes is once you get to the Clippers, who are built with Kawhi, with Paul George, those 2 guys to match up with LeBron. So I find it to be fascinating how many people took that bait, hook, line, sinker, and didn't realize, go through the teams that Portland played against in order to get into the bubble. Get into the playoffs from the bubble. I go through them. I mean, the Grizzlies they had to beat, and they barely survived, but the Grizzlies are super young, right? They didn't have Jaren Jackson. The Nets are playing a bunch of dudes. Half of them were in the G League. They played the Mavericks, and I think Luka sat that game. You know, the 76ers didn't have Ben Simmons. I mean, kind of go through all the teams they played, and especially the last three that they needed to beat in order to get into the playoffs. 76ers, no Simmons. Mavericks, I believe the Mavericks didn't play all their dudes, right? Luka played like 25 minutes in that game. And the Nets, of course, had, without four starters. The same people that told you the Lakers were going to lose were the same people that told you Melo is awesome. The whole league missed on him. Right? Did you hear that? Have you heard that? I can't believe the whole league missed on him. No, they didn't. Basketball, last time I checked, there's 94 feet in the court. You don't get to not count. I've yet to find a rule that says like, hey, we're not going to count those other 47 feet. We're just going to play half court offense only. This is not women's 6-on-6 basketball. Do you guys know there used to be high schools in the country that would play 6-on-6 girls basketball? Yeah, there's 3 on offense all times, 3 on defense all times. And you get the ball, you get a rebound. Can you imagine being all-time defense? How bad that would suck? Oh, she's a great defender. Yeah, she never gets to shoot the ball. Like, you literally could average 0 points a game and play the entire game. Doesn't work that way. Same people that told you Melo is awesome are the same people that predicted the Lakers would lose, and neither happened. Yeah, Melo can score. No one's ever said he couldn't. He's just not efficient at scoring. There's some similarities there to Leonard Fournette, right? Guys from a foregone era where posting up in mid-range no longer truly needed. And if you're going to be a below average defender, you better be your team's best player, and he is not. And between his defense and Lillard's defense and McCollum's defense and Nurkic's defense, they just got crushed. They're a terrible defensive team, combined with a bad matchup, combined with the fact that they had no juice in the tank, and the Lakers dominated them. Now, fast forward to the Houston Rockets, who are a game away from playing them. Houston, a good defensive team? I know they've played some good defense in the bubble. Are they a good defensive team? No. Is this a good matchup for Houston? No. Are they going to be rested? No. Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how's the show? Like we do this thing. We're like, man, I kind of like the Rockets playing small ball, shooting a bunch of threes. Did you guys see game 5? Was it game 5? No, game 4 against the Thunder when they missed all those threes? He shot 58 threes. You're like, and they couldn't get to the free throw line? Yeah, of course. Why? Because of the Houston Rockets. This is who they are. They're fully committed to who they are. They know who they are. And we also know how this ends up. They'll get a game. There'll be a game in which they make 25 of 50. They will. PJ Tucker will bury some from the corner. They'll be super physical. LeBron won't kind of be into it. It'll look like there are nights in which he looks like his body's kind of fighting him. Right? Kuzma will be Kuzma, just jacking up bad shots, driving with his head down to the rim, all of those things. Look at a game. But NBA series are decided based upon injuries and health. Lakers are healthy. Conditioning. Rockets should be gassed. And most importantly, matchups. It was a bad matchup for the Rockets.